So welcome back. I pulled a wee bit of a bogey, and I wanted to do something a little bit different on this episode. So pardon me jumping back into your space. What I would like to do is I'd like to contest this out a little bit. Share the post, tag two people you'd love to crush these cupcakes with, and ideally what your favorite cupcake is.
Yes.
We'll draw a winner. Maria and I will jump on very quickly a week from now. We'll draw a winner. We'll sort it out. We'll reach out to you, and then I will personally deliver your cupcakes as long as you live in Guelph or Guelph in the area. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Now I don't know where I'm going to slot this video in. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Fabulous Flix. Typically, at this point, I will make a joke about 5 or 6 people watching it and thank them. But on a serious note, as these are continuing and progressing, the outpouring of support and positive comments and the messages I'm getting over YouTube about how certain people are connected to other people, it literally gives this guy all the feels. I mean, this, as you've probably heard at least now 5 times, was all about spreading just some sort of message of positivity in regards to people around our community. And I am literally humbled by the outpouring of support. So to my right and your left today, I would like to welcome Maria McDougall to the show. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am well, thanks. I appreciate you taking some time in the middle of the day Friday. We are doing it at this time because I'm going to try and get this out for tonight. Hopefully have a couple surprises in store. And this is weird because I know that you watch these literally from start to finish. And normally I have something where I'll be able to like throw somebody off their game. But I feel like it's going to be kind of tough with you on this.
Yeah, I've watched them all. So
Fair enough.
We'll
okay.
See how
So, all right. So for those who do not know you, because you're not a politician or anything crazy like that, why don't you work for J&J, correct?
I do.
And you, between you and your husband, have 3,800 children.
Well, 7, but yeah. Close. It feels okay, like 3,800 some days.
All right. So first, let's talk about J&J. Tell me, you've been there for a while. What do you do there?
I've been with J&J off and on for 15 years. I just had my 15th anniversary. So I started in the consumer branch here in Guelph, but I now work out of the Markham office, and I work on their computer system.
So you're like an IT nerd?
Sort of. I'm like a pseudo IT nerd. So I have no technical background whatsoever, no training in it, nothing. It's my bachelor's degree's in French, for crying out loud. So
I feel like I'm calling Linksys. My router is not working. I have a degree in languages. Oh, crap.
Exactly. That's what it's like. So I started in customer service, and that's the team I support. So I like translate business requirements to the actual technical people and vice versa. I make the technical stuff easy for the business to understand, and I do all the testing and stuff in between.
So what you're saying is you walk the reports down to engineering. Yes. I am a people person. What is wrong with you people? Little office space to start our conversation.
Nice.
Okay, so you've been there for 15 years, and you and I obviously have very, very close ties, but I don't want to dive into that right away. So you're J&J, and you were recently married.
I was in November.
Yeah, you were recently married, and you have like a wolf pack of children. What are the ages? How does that work? How many does your husband have? And you must live on like a ranch style like farm to be able to house all these kids.
It would be nice. We actually joke around that we need a small motel. No, so I have 4 of my own. So my oldest is 27, and she lives, obviously she doesn't live at home. She lives with her fiance. And then at home, I have a 20-year-old, a 14-year-old, and an 11-year-old. So that's my household. So a 16-year gap between the oldest and the youngest.
And then, what about pets? Because I want to gauge a picture of what the housing situation looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not so bad at my house. I have 3 cats. That's it.
Okay. All
When
right.
my daughter lived here, there was literally a zoo in the house. But she took the zoo with her, so her fiance has to deal with the zoo. And then my husband has 3 kids, and his kids are 20, 15, and almost 14. So
Wow.
right around the same ages, but yeah, it's a little busy.
Now, when I say that we're close, we live approximately a 4.5 minute walk, a 12-minute army crawl. Like we live very close, and our lives have become pretty intermingled, if I may speak frankly. And I actually, just to give anybody out here an indication of how close we are, I've put something together,
Oh
and I
boy.
would like to share that with your permission, if that's okay.
Sure.
All right. It's about 23 seconds long, so you're gonna have to bear with me, okay?
All righty.
Gonna turn the sound on and everything. Here we go.
So pretty.
So that was us at your wedding.
That was. That was
And
at our wedding.
we're not big posters, so we obviously didn't share with the world because this was in November, but we had not only the absolute privilege of getting to go to St. Lucia during a lockdown, which is an entirely sketchy situation in itself, but we got to be at your wedding.
Mm-hmm. It
That's
was awesome.
amazing. Yeah, and I found out the day before I was going to be a best man.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because the wedding planner actually asked us, because, we had told her even before lockdown and all of the other COVID craziness, that it was going to be a small group of people. So we weren't expecting more than maybe 6 people at most to come with us. So when it turned out to just be the 2 of you, which we were perfectly fine with, and we were more than happy that you guys came, the wedding planner asked us the day that we met her, she's like, which was the day before the wedding, the on-site planner, she's like, so this couple that came down with you, they're going to be your best man and maid of honor, right? And we're like, yeah, I guess so.
Let me check their schedules. They're available.
I think they're free. They're by the pool.
Yeah,
it turned out really well.
What an unbelievable week. I mean, we have the space here behind, as you guys have probably figured out who watches this. That's not a green screen. That's where we get to hang out and watch movies. And other than during absolute lockdown, like, you guys are part of our small bubble. I mean, we've been watching movies here on a weekly basis, Friday or Sunday or both. And whether it's just yourself and your husband, Shawn, or whether Logan, Matthew, Alice, even a couple times Shawn's kids have come for boys' night. I mean, we've been doing this for 5 years now.
Yeah. At least
4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. And you guys still haven't been so grossly offended by what comes out of my mouth that you haven't shunned us yet, which is quite frankly a statement in itself.
Well, it's not like you haven't tried.
If I'm not offending somebody, I'm doing nobody justice. So the reason why I wanted to have you on today, it wasn't necessarily to reminisce about going to St. Lucia when everybody here was in small bubbles and lockdown. It was really to talk about what it is you do, with all of your free time. When you're not chasing 3 of the 4 children around, or 1 of the 3 cats, or chasing your large child around, aka your husband, and you're not working your full-time job. You've made a very conscious effort, and we even have some mutual friends, to be involved in some charities, and one of them involves shoe boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Am I getting that right?
That's right. So I became involved with this through my mother. So my mom is a big supporter of Operation Christmas Child. So every year around Christmas time, they gather shoe boxes, and they get pre-printed ones, but you can use actual shoe boxes or even backpacks or any small container. And they fill them up with both essential needs like not toothpaste, can't send toothpaste, toothbrushes though, toothbrushes, soap, um, face cloths, socks, stuff like that. And then fun stuff like little toys and, basketball, like deflated obviously, but basketball and stuff like that. And all of these shoe boxes are collected all over North America, and
Mhm.
they go around the world to impoverished countries. Now, they don't get them at Christmas time. They usually get them sometime in the summer just because of all the processing and shipping and all that
Of
kind of stuff.
course.
But they go out. And so my mom started doing it, and she would make one shoebox for each of her grandchildren. So she'd pick a child the same age as each of her grandchildren and make one shoebox for each, which, four of my kids, and I have three nieces and nephews. So you put that all together, and she would make seven of these. Well, she
Okay.
really started to get involved and grow it. So now she organizes a packing party every year, and we pack upwards of 300 of these shoeboxes. And both her and another lady that works with her at her church are both heavily involved, and we've done volunteer work, and I've gone with my mom and volunteered at the processing center where we make sure there's no objects in there that can't go overseas, and we check them and whatever. And my mom's done that, and she's even had the opportunity to go on one of the delivery trips where her and Andrea were both able to go to Costa Rica, where they gave out these shoe boxes to see the looks on the children's faces. Like, to them, a pair of socks is like amazing. So we've done that. And when we went to St. Lucia, we found out St. Lucia has a very similar program where you can pack a backpack full of necessities for school kids and school supplies and bring it with you. So both Shawn and I packed one, and we've stuck it in our checked bag, and you just drop it off at the desk at the resort, and they take it to the local school. So yeah.
That's amazing. So a couple things. First of all, the person that was referenced, Andrea Bothwell, is an unbelievable human being. Not
Sure.
not that I want to tangent off, but her husband Scott was a very very positive male role model for me when I was younger. So anytime I have the ability to even say their names, let alone
Yeah.
see them, I mean, it's such an unbelievable honor. And it's weird because we didn't know that existed between the two of us. It was kind of a random
Yeah.
occurrence, but it's amazing how much of a small world it is. So my one question, and I got to ask something that's semi inappropriate here.
Okay.
What is the weirdest thing you have found in one of these boxes that there is no way on God's beautiful green earth that would be allowed to be shipped over there? Like,
There actually wasn't too much weird stuff. It's mostly things that people don't think about. So there really wasn't anything weird. I wish there had something really cool to give you, but people know that these are going to kids, so they don't really put anything weird. But some of the things that you have to take out that seem strange to us. So camouflage, like here, camouflage is just another pattern, but in a
yeah,
third world country, that could get you shot. So anything with camouflage, you have to take out. One year it was, and I can't remember what year it was or where the boxes were going, but the destination country had a thing about pigs. So you literally had to go page by page through coloring books and rip out any pictures of pigs because they wouldn't take it. It was the weirdest thing. So
what?
yeah, it's kind of strange like that. So, and money, like you can't send money or candy or
You can't send
anything
candy?
edible. You can't send
Everyone
candy.
loves
Actually, yeah.
candy.
Yeah, and even hard candies, like the liquids and stuff I kind of get, and shipping it can
Yep.
ruin things. But yeah, even hard candies you can't send anymore. So a lot of candy gets
Wild.
thrown out at those processing centers.
Now, does it get thrown out, or does
Mm.
it make its way back to the east end of Guelph so that your
No, my kids
your
have enough
your
sugar.
flock of children, like, I realize that I'm not a good influence on them when they come here. They literally get to crush whatever they want. That's why I'm
No,
not a
no,
parent. Yeah.
no
So
sugar
you're
for
not you're not bringing the candy home for these kids.
no. They get
You
enough
know,
candy.
You know what though, I gotta say, and not that I want to give your kids too much props because they're probably gonna watch this at some point, but I gotta say, in a world where kids are very, very, very entitled, for the most part, and I say this sincerely, your kids are obscenely well behaved when they're here, probably because them, me, you, and everybody else who knows her has a death fear of my wife. Um, but also in terms of like even just like your youngest Logan, like he won't go get anything without asking me permission first. And as much as I might take that for granted and say, Logan, don't be silly. Of course you can. I think that there's something to be said for the use of manners. It's not something
Yeah.
that we see a ton more of, and I wanted to give you an absolute amount of props on that because that's obviously a learned behavior. It's not innate. So
Well, thank you.
moving on to what I really want to talk about is, obviously, I started this and you and I were talking about this when this all came about doing something positive in a time of pandemic that you hope will benefit others. And I'm not an overly skilled human being. So this was about as good as it got on my end. But you have a talent for something. And I don't say this because I get to enjoy the benefits of it. And I don't say this because we're friends, but you have an obscene talent for baking, and not just like throwing a shitty cake together. Like you can legit get this done. So if you do me a favor, why don't you take me through baking acts of kindness, where it came from, where the idea was born, and if there was a moment where you said, even though I'm obscenely busy and I have a lot of children and a full-time job, this is something to me worth investing time in. And ladies and gentlemen, for those that don't know what kind of time it takes to bake, it is not short. So would you mind
Yeah.
kind of taking us through that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've baked my whole life. So from the time I was a kid, I was always baking, and I love doing it. But I only ever did it really for munch away for my family.
Hmm.
So I bake my niece and nephew's birthday cakes and my kids' birthday cakes and things like that. And before the pandemic started, a mutual friend of me and my brother asked me if I would be willing to bake a cake for a friend of hers who was turning 40, and they were having a surprise party, and they wanted this custom cake. And would you make one? And if you were going to make one, what would you charge? And I never really thought about it. But it made me think about it. And when I thought about it, I'm like, I don't want to have a business. That's not what I don't want to have a business. I don't want to run a business.
All that
It's
free
not my
time? Why
thing.
not? What else?
Not my thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, fair.
Yeah. But I had been looking for, because I do strongly believe in giving back, and it's one of my passions. I think it's part of my purpose of life, if you want to call it that. And I've been on the receiving end, to be perfectly honest. When my youngest was a little girl, the Salvation Army paid for her Christmas, our Christmas dinner, and her presents. So I know what it's like to be on that side.
It's amazing.
So yeah, so I'm always looking for ways to give back. And so what I decided to do was to create this kind of opportunity where I would bake. Somebody would ask me for something, I would bake it, give them a price, keep the cost of the ingredients, but then the profit, which is really my time, I donate to charity. And usually to a charity of their choice if they have one that they're interested in, or if they
Mhm.
don't, then I pick one. So
Okay.
that's how it started. And it was my
Okay.
brother actually that came up with the name. So my brother
I was
James.
wondering who
Yeah.
did this. All right,
Yeah.
okay.
I was trying to figure it out, and the reason he came up with it was my sister and I, a long time ago, were commenting on the fact that we have a random act of kindness day, and wouldn't it be a lovelier world if people did random acts of kindness every day and not just on one day? So that year, my sister and I pledged, and we did one random act of kindness every single day for a year. And we posted it on social media just to try and get people inspired to do it themselves. So my brother was thinking of that and then the baking. And so we put them together. And so instead of random acts of kindness, it's the baking acts of kindness. So then with the pandemic, I noticed on some of the Guelph sites, some of the media sites, a lot of people, especially when we went into lockdown, didn't know how to make their birthday for their kids special since they couldn't have a party. And how do we do this and how do we do that? And that was my moment where I decided that I was actually going to put it out there. So it wouldn't just be people I knew in my immediate close circle of friends and family. And
Who's
again,
got
against all the
awesome
cupcakes.
cakes for the last few years.
Yeah.
Holy crap, some of the stuff you put together.
So that's where it started. And so I posted it on a couple pages here, a couple Facebook pages here in Guelph. And my sister, who lives in Hamilton, posted it on a couple pages in Hamilton.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, it became chaos at my house. So every bit of spare time, that small bit of spare time I have, I'm usually baking.
So I've put together, and obviously I couldn't come up with all of my favorites, but I am again going to share a screen, um, just to kind of give an idea as to what sort of stuff we're talking about here. Now, I didn't include, well, I included my one for my terrible little plug here for Fabulous Flix. Um, but some of the stuff you've done, from the Unicorn to Spider-Man, PlayStations, Xbox, Paw Patrols, Fortnite. You made me a mini cake a couple years ago
Yeah.
that was the literal representation of my summer car at the time.
Yep.
So I'm not saying to anybody who is watching this, don't go out and support local business. That is not what I'm saying. You know, there are people that do this for a living. That person is not Maria. Uh,
No.
but it is important to have options. And it was very cool because, you know, I obviously, we're as close as we are. I only order our stuff through you, and I love the fact that, you know, whenever I order, it goes to Big Brothers Big Sisters. And one thing I love is that, I'm not sure how often you do it, but you'll actually post every charity that has been contributed to this year. And I think that there's something very cool about being able to eat an incredible cake or cupcake, which, as you could probably see me stuffing my face, I went over and grabbed some at your porch pickup. But that you also have the ability to support charity. So, first of all, if somebody doesn't pick a charity, what is your go-to charity right now?
My go-to charity through the pandemic has been the COVID-19 fund for nurses. Canadian Nurses Foundation runs a COVID-19 fund. I found out about it through work, so my work is one of the initial sponsors. But when I got looking at it, my mom was a nurse. She's retired now, but you know, she worked long hours and she worked at the hospital and then she worked for the VON. And so I know from the experience of being a child in that household how much blood, sweat, and tears and passion they pour into that job. And I can't even begin to imagine how difficult it is for them during a pandemic and having to go to work every day and then going home to their families and being worried that they're taking that home. So it's
Yeah.
really tough. It's really tough. And you know, between that and my grandmother passed away this past year, and she was under nursing care for that pretty much most of the pandemic. She had a little stint at my mom's place, but other than that, she was there. So the care that they give is incredible, and so that's usually my go-to,
Yep.
is them.
Fair enough. What was the next question I was going to ask? It's funny. Normally, I'm so on the ball with firing off the next question, but it's interesting because our interactions are normally very lighthearted. We watch movies, and I think that it's easy for me as your friend to forget the time and the energy you put into giving back. I mean, first of all, I want to thank you for sharing the story about your oldest daughter when she was younger. You and I had
Mm.
talked about that very quietly, and I think it takes a large amount of bravery to be able to say that on a public forum. So I do very much thank you for sharing that. Um, it is unbelievable how you've been able to take your job, which is very much full time, and a crazy busy house, and put all this stuff together. Like, it's mind boggling. So I'm gonna eat a cupcake right now, but what I want to know is, in the next 30 days, you obviously, this is the part you're probably well aware of at this point, is what do you plan on watching? Now, the one caveat is you are not allowed to say Zack Snyder's Justice League, because that's a given, because we'll be watching that together, because we come out of lockdown on Tuesday, which means our bubbles can open back up,
Yeah.
and we're going to see that here. So other than Zack Snyder's Justice League, what are
Other than
three
that,
things you want to watch? They can be movies, they can be shows. It's totally up to you.
so and I know that this has been a topic on previous ones. So we've talked about being rewatchers versus new stuff. And so as much as I love new stuff, I am very much a rewatcher. I will watch the same things over and over again. And I especially find with TV, when a new season comes out, I want to watch what happened before. I think part of it is that whole comfort food mentality. It's a piece of entertainment that I can put on, and I don't have to be strictly paying attention, but I love.
Comfort food, what's that?
Yeah. It's a cupcake for your brain.
Yes. I should rename this Cupcake for Your Brain.
For your brain. Yeah. So I do tend to do that. And so there are a couple that I am currently rewatching. The one I'm most excited about is Outlander. So the next season of Outlander has dropped and I haven't touched it yet. Because I was rewatching the first 5 seasons. And the reason I'm really excited about the next season is I also read the book. So as much as I love TV and movies, which I do, and you know how much I love them and how passionate I am about them, I'm sitting in front of my geek corner.
Mhm.
I love books. I'm a reader at heart and I love books. And the Outlander books are massive. Each one in paperback is about yay thick. Like they're
Okay.
huge. So the reason I'm so excited about season 6 is I haven't got there yet in the books. I stopped at the exact same point in the book as where season 5 of the TV show ended. So I have no idea what's coming because I haven't read it yet.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
very excited. It's unfortunately something I have to watch when my children aren't here because, as my husband calls it, it is Scottish porn. So
Whoa, hold on.
can't
And this
watch
is
it.
called Outlander?
Yes.
I'm just gonna make a note of this because I actually have not watched Outlander.
Yes.
I know you've
So I
mentioned
am.
it, but you can
So
only
I'm.
talk me into one show at a time because the last one you talked me into, I'm
It takes you
still
forever. Yeah.
just quite halfway through. It's like a marathon of life, which
Yeah.
we're not going to get into. Okay, so
Yeah.
Outlander.
Yeah. So as you know, as you obviously know, and people may guess from my last name, I am of Scottish heritage. Eight generations in Canada, but roots in Scotland. And I've been
Mhm.
there. I've been to Scotland. I was there about 6 years ago, and love that part of my background. And so this whole foray into Scottish history, and little eye candy at the same time. Not so bad.
Yep. There are worse things. I mean, every guy who's
Not worse
watching this
things.
has watched something on HBO, so 0 people can throw stones at eye candy. Yep. Okay, so Outlander. What's the second?
The second is actually one that you and I talked about called Greenland that's out on Prime. So I've
Dying
been
to watch this.
watching, yeah, so I have been, and you mentioned the marathon. I've been rewatching Supernatural, which takes forever because there's 15 seasons. And I started rewatching it because my daughter has caught up and surpassed me. So she introduced me to Supernatural. For years I've been ahead of her. She's been kind
Mhm.
of dragging the last few seasons, but she told me the other
Okay.
day that she has now watched season 15, which is the last season, and I'm not there
Okay.
yet. So as I've been watching that, though, you get every time a new episode starts on Prime, you get these previews for this show. And I saw this thing and I'm like, Gerard Butler, I like him. He's
Right?
Scottish.
This is
He's hot.
Sparta.
Yeah. I was thinking more P.S. I love you, but okay, this is Sparta.
Yeah, that was definitely my second go-to was
Yeah, no, it
"Yes, I love
wasn't.
you." Wait, he's been in anything other than oh, yeah, he was in that, like,
Oh,
Kingdom Has
and like,
Fallen, The US Has
yes, those are
Fallen, A
good
Small
too.
Town Has Fallen, Olympus Has Fallen, and
Yeah,
yeah,
those are pretty good too. Totally unrealistic, but very, very good.
yeah,
So
fair enough.
yeah, so I think it looks really interesting. It's kind of
Greenland.
a end of the world type thing, but it looks good.
Yeah. Alright, so we've got Outlander, we've got Greenland, and what is number 3?
Number 3 is something that's been on my list since the beginning of January, and I haven't watched it yet. So apparently on Netflix, there is a Netflix special posted by, of all people, Nicolas Cage on the history of swearing. And I am
I
so excited to watch it, but
I
I
have
haven't yet.
seen this, and I can't tell if it's gonna be amazing or the
I
biggest
know.
waste of time in history.
Yeah, that's what I think too. So I don't know, but overheard. I knew it was coming. I knew last year it was coming, and I was kind of excited about it. Again, I wasn't sure if this is something I wanted to watch with my kids around. And then I was at I was at the blood donor clinic a while ago, and someone there was talking about it, and they said they'd seen it and they really liked it. So definitely have to check that one out. Maybe this
Alright.
weekend. The kids aren't home, so instead of
Alright, fair enough.
Sappy for Valentine's Day, maybe we'll watch swearing instead.
That's right. I mean, it's a toss-up between the history of swear words and "P.S. I love you." Like, it's way, way, way up.
Yeah.
Although I must admit, if I was gonna go the sappy this is a little off topic. If I was gonna go the sappy rom-com, I
Yeah.
have to admit that the funniest rom-com I have watched in years is Crazy Rich Asians. Have you watched that?
I haven't watched it yet.
Holy crap. It is
Really good?
hilarious, it's witty, the story is awesome. The cast is absolutely second to none. We had friends over here months ago, and you know, my buddy and I wanted to watch Marvel, and she said, "Cool, as long as it's a rom com." So we compromised. We did one day and one the other.
Yeah.
And at the end of Crazy Rich Asians, I'm like, I'm embarrassed at how much I really enjoyed that. Huh.
I will have to check that one out too. That's another on my list. My list is long.
Yeah, fair.
And like I said, unfortunately, what I tend to do is, even though I have a really long list of things I want to watch, I have this tendency to, when it comes down and I have time and the kids aren't here, it
Rewatch.
just is something that I love that I end up
Yeah.
watching. So it's always hard.
it.
And it's actually good because I find that it's easier. So that's the one thing with lockdown. It's easier to fall into that pattern at home. I find
Yeah.
that if, with our small bubble, if I'm going out over to your house, there's sometimes that, oh, hey, I haven't seen this. Like you did that, you did one of these, one of the Fabulous Flix episodes on the epic movies. I'm like, oh, I hadn't seen that one. So we watched that one, that type
Yep.
of thing. So I find that I have a tendency to watch newer things when I'm out of the house, and when I'm at home, I tend to just watch what I love.
Fair enough. So quick question. Before I ask you the one that won't throw you because you've watched all these, what is your lineup right now for making cakes or goodies for Valentine's Day? Do you have a busy weekend ahead? What do you got? How many orders are you putting together?
I have three for
Okay.
Sunday. So, and I try to say no when I can, because, and that's hard for me. Just so you know, it is really hard for me to say no
Oh,
to
I'm
people.
aware.
Yeah, but I had to put a stop to, because I knew it could get out of control. So I have a batch of cookies, a batch of cupcakes, and cake pops in the shape of chicken nuggets.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Yeah. So cupcake or cake pops, but shaped like chicken McNuggets, like literally McDonald's chicken McNuggets. Yeah.
That's literally one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Are you going to post this on your Instagram so we can see it?
Yes, I will.
Oh, wonderful. I will definitely be putting that screen back up so that everybody can see where to find you. Okay, so obviously this question won't throw you because you know it. But if you wanted somebody to watch something that gave them a representation of who you were, whether it's your character, your personality, what makes you you, what movie would you tell somebody to go watch?
So this one I had to think about because I knew this was going to come. So like you said, so I thought about it for a really long time, and I couldn't narrow it down past two. And so the two pieces of my personality. So the one is my love of all things geek and nerd, which I do, and you know that. And that, for me, if you had to personify that in a movie, is Ready Player One.
With you know how to hit me in all the feels.
All of those great movies.
You know how to hit me right in the feels with that one. That's in my top 5 of like all time now. Okay, Ready Player One.
Yep. And the other one, and I am going to dedicate this to my mother because I cannot even believe I'm saying this, but the other one is The Sound of Music. So that is where my name comes from. It has been my mother's favorite movie since she was 13 years old and her brother took her to see it. But the reason I chose it is not because of the name and not because of that connection, but the character Maria in Sound of Music is someone from a religious background who still has faith, but not in the way she did before, and who finds her life going in a way she never thought, and ends up with a whole heckle full of kids that she never thought she'd have. And as much as I adore my children, if you had have asked me before I had any of them, if I was going to be a mother, my answer would have been no.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not. And I have many of them. And so I find that
I have a gaggle of children.
I have a gaggle of children. So so that to me is kind of how my life has gone. Even though it was unexpected, that's where it's come, and I love it.
Amazing. Well, like I said, I'm going to put this picture back up at the end of this video. Hopefully, after we stop shooting, you will stick around and chat for a few minutes. I really want to say thank you for taking some time on a Friday. I think often we forget that, you don't have to have a massive platform or run a massive business or be a politician to do things that are positive for the community around you. you have found a way to balance an obscenely busy home life. Yay, I'm giving you compliments. Just take it, enjoy it. Um, you've found a way to balance an obscenely busy home life, be an incredible friend, between yourself and your kids and Shawn and their kids. Your kids are upstanding human beings most of the time, and yet you find time to do something that is very labor intensive, and you do it at a skill level that is scary. And rather than taking those extra dollars, which I mean everybody in the world can use right now, you give them back to charity, and you give people the ability to take their own money and put it back to charity. And I think that is something that we should all strive for more. So Maria, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I'm going to put your information back up for Baking Acts of Kindness. If you guys haven't checked it out, you've got to see some of the stuff that's been done. It's amazing. Do you have anything to say before we sign off?
Not really. I mean, I just, you know what? People always ask me what they could do for me since I do what I can for others, and my response is always the same, and I'll leave it with that, which is pay it forward. Go do something nice for someone else, whether it's paying for somebody's Tim Hortons or, calling up an old friend or sending a card to somebody at the hospital that you don't know. Just pay it forward.
Thank you so much.